Yes, the potential of circular-based economy raw materials as main ingredients, focusing mainly in salmon farming. So fish farming has been growing the last 20 years, addressing the need for high quality food produced in a more sustainable manner. But as the global population is growing, they're also changing their nutritional habits. And therefore more protein is necessary, and aquaculture can offer that. But as aquaculture is growing, and including salmon farming, we have already seen that there is a need for alternative sources of high quality protein ingredients and omega-3 sources. And as we have been facing this reality, the fish oil by plant oils, we have also seen that the levels of omega-3, for example, fatty acids in the salmon fillet has been gradually decreasing the last years. But although salmon is still considered a rich food source of both proteins and omega-3s for the consumers, we may have reached the limit below which fish health and welfare may be jeopardized. And that will have both social and economic consequences. So what appears to be a solution? First, I will start with what does not appear to be the solution. So sourcing more omega-3 from fisheries or proteins from overseas plant that are associated with Amazon deforestation activities or some GM crops. So does not appear to be consumer preferred or very sustainable solutions. We can find omega-3s and proteins from the sea if we better utilize the side stream biomass from both aquaculture and fisheries, and we can also better utilize still underutilized marine sources like low trophic species such as jellyfish, krill, and mesopelagic fish, and other species that are actually projected to exist in very high volumes, many times those of the currently exploited fish meal, but they are also known to be more dispersed and difficult to catch and manage. So what can be part of the solution? What is greener? It is usually something brown, and for example insects. So insects can be produced in a circular economy manner. We can produce insect based on agri business waste streams, food waste, and can produce both food and feed, and we can use their own waste back in as fertilizers. And polychaete worms. Polychaete worms, they can also feed on waste. They can produce high biomass. We have seen them growing carpets under fish farms, and they also accumulate EPA and DHA, which are the long-chain polyunsaturated omega-3 fatty acids. Tunicates. Tunicates is an organism, again, growing in more eutrophic waters. They can filter very efficiently the small particles from the sea and microalgae growing on excess nutrients, which are again produced by the municipal and agricultural activities. In a circular way, from tunicates we can make both fish and other animal feeds. We can make food. There are already companies like Marine Feed producing umami from tunicates, and they can also be used to produce the nanocellulosic materials for pharmaceutical and medicine applications. Microalgae, phototrophic macroalgae, everybody knows that. They can be used also to treat wastewaters, and they can efficiently produce nutrients, high value compounds, and for both food and feed and nutraceutical cosmetic applications. And maybe the more well-known heterotrophic microalgae produced in a very efficient way in fermentation technology facilities, and for example Schizochytrium limacinum is very well studied also by a group here in Bergen, and we have been showing that salmon can grow lifelong, replacing fish oil by this microalgae species heterotrophically produced with improved growth in our trial, and also fillet quality in terms of pigmentation and texture, and also with increased levels of EPA and DHA, though the diets were balanced between heterotrophic microalgae and fish oil treatments. And we also saw that that may have been induced by improved gut health. What about these polychaetes? They're quite new. I've been funding some projects, both EU and national Norwegian, and we see that they can also support when we introduce the high levels in the diet, substituting fish meal, up to 15% we have used with similar growth for fish, the same growth. We saw some reduced feed intake, but that actually induced any reduced feed conversion ratio, which means that it's a very efficient ingredient. And feed conversion ratio is one of the most important key performance indicator for the environmental footprint of new ingredients. And the tunicates, they have also been demonstrated to induce good growth in Atlantic salmon, but they also present other opportunities for aquaculture, and that is to modulate the technical quality of the extruded feed pellets. Using tunicate, replacing fish meal and soy protein concentrate, we have seen they increase the impact the expansion, and which also allows us to introduce more fat in the pellet. So it increases the fat absorption capacity of the pellets. In future EU Aqua, we had the opportunity to benchmark many of those innovative and circular-based economy low trophic level ingredients against each other, and we actually tested them against a very freshly produced organic fish meal and fish oil, which came straight from the factory next to our facilities, and that is almost impossible to beat. But introducing about 20% of tunicates and or insects and high levels of phototrophic or heterotrophic microalgae, we got actually very good growth in salmon. Not as high as for the fish meal, but that was not expected to be beaten. And also when we removed all fish meal and fish oil, we saw actually that the performance of the fish was still good. They had lower feed intake. It was probably not as attractive, the smell and the taste of these new ingredients. There are ways to deal with this issue in the future, but most importantly, most of them, except the tunicate meal, which that batch had a lot of ash and salt, had very good feed conversion ratio. This is very important. We also have tested a lot of other things. We have seen histology, we have seen digestibility and of this fish, but for example, we can see the fillet lipid levels. The insect meal treatment induced higher concentration of lipids in the fillet. This is important because that's where the EPA and DHA is found. It's the edible and commercialized product of salmon. So we want the lipids to go into the fillet. We don't want them to go into the guts. And in addition, the levels of EPA and DHA, all the diets were balanced for EPA and DHA. We see that they are quite good raw materials in order to get the EPA and DHA in the fillets and help salmon remain a good source of EPA and DHA. We had a drop in the zero fish meal fish oil diet, and that was mainly because there was lower levels of lipid because of a little bit lower growth. We tested the most promising one in combination also in a large scale cage trial. So the heterotrophic microalgae with the insect meal and we have a lot of data. You can take contact with me if you want to listen more about that, with for growth, of course, but also his gut histology, health of the fish was perfectly okay and comparable to the two treatments, so the fish meal, fish oil, and the innovative Future EU Aqua diet. We tested global transcriptomics of the gut tissue, and we saw upregulation significant with these two new ingredients of the lipid metabolism, and that now matches with our previous trial results, where we saw that the insect meal can improve the lipid transport towards the muscle, and also EPA and DHA accumulation, and reduced stress in the fish. We have good results from the sea bream and sea bass also that will be presented from other speakers. And the current status is that there is large production commercial of both insect and microalgae, and implemented in salmon farming, still at low levels. So we have seen that it can work. Future research needs to continue to improve the quality of such new raw materials to match the requirements and the needs of the fish, and promote large-scale production and support sustainable growth of aquaculture. Thank you.